What you're talking about. I just didn't. I tweet.
Okay, you're still shutting me. You're still shutting me down.
Because
I'm gonna land.
I'm Cindy Temi.
I'm Gracey Mae.
I'm Ola Aweo.
And we are
Frobeats,
your favourite Afro-pop podcast.
Oh,
episode
12.
11. Oh, man.
Wow.
I've been praising myself for so long.
Those of you that do not know, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, aka Sars, was a Nigerian. Wow, Wikipedia is fast. Was a Nigerian police force unit under the Force Criminal Investigation and Intelligence Department, headed by the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Anthony Ogbizi. It was disbanded on October the 11th, 2020, following a widespread protest from Nigerians worldwide. SARS was under controversy for being linked to acts of extortion, torture, framing, blackmail, rape, thus leading to the protest that resulted in it being dissolved. That is SARS in a nutshell. You guys are not strangers to basically what's been happening across the media these last few days. I don't actually know, me and Ola were speaking about this, do you know if there was a specific event as of recent that triggered the latest outrage?
Yeah, shootings, guys. You haven't seen the videos of people getting licked down in the street?
But they have been.
No, so there was one where I believe Colliday Johnson was the one that was from 2019, where he didn't even get to see his unborn child because they suspected him for. I think he had a laptop and an iPhone, and they were like, "You must be a Yahoo boy."
Yeah, that's the reason why they said
But that was 2019, obviously last year. So this year, I'm sure there was a video that came out where they literally just shot someone dead in the street, and everybody was like, "No, like it's enough." And then everyone obviously was saying, but. Like, if celebrities can shout out that they've been affected and civilians can shout out that they've been affected, then how come everybody's quiet?
I think we were talking about it more in terms of, like, obviously, like, if we were to reference, like, recent protests that we've seen to Black Lives Matter, it was after, essentially, it is the same thing, enough is enough, Breonna Taylor, Maud Arbery, and then George Floyd, which was the spark. So we were thinking more in terms of,
was there a specific
is there a name,
yeah.
is there a person,
No.
is there a time? But I guess,
and that's the whole point, right? They're trying to on the timeline. They're like, okay, loads of people are trying to elect themselves as like the leader in Abuja, the leader in Abeokuta. We want to be like faceless. We don't want anybody getting paid off. We don't want anyone speaking on our behalf. Like, obviously we touched on this last week, guys. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode, just quick context for anyone that doesn't know what SARS is. I've got the official name. SARS counts as the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. So they have been put in a position to try and find armed robbers.
Is that it?
Yeah. They are usually stationed around the bridges in Lekki. In fact, they're everywhere in Lagos and Nigeria. And they conduct random stops and searches to try and basically find criminals and stop them in their tracks. What has ended up happening over a number of years, actually, but most recently has been, a lot of shooting. Now, ordinarily, people that come into contact with SARS, myself included, during 30th December, just pay them a fine so that they will let you go. They will charge you for flat tires. They will say you don't have your particulars. They'll say that
It's not your job, sir.
Your glasses, your windows are too dim. They can make up anything.
Your head is dim.
There's stories of people saying that they have been arrested, taken by force to like impounds, where the SARS guys have like basically taken off any identifiable pieces of the car and then left them stranded and then sold the car. Sometimes they ask you for fuel money. I mean, the range of things go from something as petty as just giving them 100k, to obviously being shot dead. And the reason why it was trending this week is because a video came out where a group of SARS did shoot somebody dead, young man. There is no reason why we can't fulfill our human rights to protest peacefully, mind you. And again, I don't know why SARS have brought guns to peaceful protests. I haven't seen anyone protesting aside from having placards in their hands. The people were laughing. Was it yesterday or the day before that people were getting waterboarded with water cannons when there was, I think, a hospital or a school that was on fire and they claimed they didn't have enough water. But you had enough water to waterboard your protesters.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Sorry, did I just say that very freshly?
No.
Protesters.
No.
I say all of that to say that I'm happy that first of all we're using our voices and our platform. I'm happy that I was able to be there live in person to see a few celebrities come out like DSF, Shay, WizKid, Mr. Easy, obviously Shopsy and Smade were doing their thing. Kidda Kuds was there, Malogo was there, Kelechi was there, Chicane was there. I mean, the list is so long, and even though we're in the diaspora, we're like, you know what? It matters. Yeah. And if it's the international pressure, as long as we get the results, I don't care.
Yeah, because to me, I think what I've learned from this situation, and we've said this multiple times, is that in the year of a pandemic, what we've learned is that the voice of the people speaks louder than the government, because the amount of U-turns we have seen has been because of public pressure. And it isn't just because we're inside, it's because we're united by the idea that this is wrong.
This is wrong,
and so imagine how much more we can turn in that country when the average age is 18.1. Like, we really can. Buhari needs to go. Do you know, you're not doing anything. Like,
and how ironic that his kids were actually out protesting as well.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Just
in general, they put it on social media that they're also against NSARS. And go to your father, don't come online.
All of them, like, realistically, we're in a position that whole government was built on this notion of anti-corruption, and we haven't seen change. And we need to be in a position where they are scared to even like the idea that you could be brazen enough to create a whole campaign on what you were going to perpetuate and do it for that many years. They need to be scared that they have no idea how they're going to walk into election next year.
2023,
without people calling and holding them to account. Nigerians need to continue this vim and speak.
Yeah.
And I think need it. A lot of people have said, oh, I don't want to be the one to die on the front line, because we know that there's people that have been killed. I believe yesterday an additional 20 people were shot and all of them passed, thank God. But we have to come to a point where we're willing to sacrifice our current, and I say we, and I know it's easy to speak from London on this matter, but we have to come to a point where we're willing to sacrifice now for the future. And that's what Nigerians don't do.
Manage
how? We don't have the like, the only reason why Singapore and Nigeria that were got independence in the same year, but one country is further forward. We know Singapore had a dictator, but they were willing to sacrifice certain things. Like, Nigerians just don't. Everything is now. Instant gratitude, instant gratification, instant money.
But
NSAS.
And even as a diaspora, I don't know, just a quick one on the Black Lives Matter. There was a lot of comments saying that we were there, you know, hailing our hands up for Black Lives Matter, but when it comes to NSARS, we're not doing anything. What are your thoughts on that? Quick thoughts, because I feel like when I did Black Lives Matter, I was quite conscious that Black Lives Matter in America, they matter in the UK, obviously they matter in Nigeria. It depends where you are to pick your struggle. And ours here is racism. In America, it's racism. In Nigeria, it's you're not going to suffer from racism. You're going to suffer from police brutality. And that was kind of my being and reasoning behind the whole Black Lives Matter. But there seems to be like a thing where they feel if you support Black Lives Matter and you don't support NSARS, which I don't think is possible anyway, that you're just not doing the right thing.
So I think for me, it's just that, again, it comes down to what we're saying in terms of the idea that you're not, like, you're campaigning for equality. Do you know what I mean? You're actually just campaigning for your life to not be, like, I guess systematically and statistically more in jeopardy because of the colour of your skin. But actually, equally, to me, I see the NSARS movement as the same. Like, I don't want to be in a position where I can walk out of my house and someone, because of power, it's just a different type of power.
It's a different type of
power.
power.
It's a different type of power. You're abusing power. Corrupts, absolutely. Check it everywhere you go. But I think that what comes with it is, like we were saying, it comes with the government. It comes with corruption. It comes with all of the other battles you have to fight in Nigeria that mean that it seems like such a harder thing to fight.
Okay.
I think for me, the second point that you made is exactly where I am. If you believe in Black Lives Matter, you have to believe in NSARS. As much as you mentioned that, you know, if the implication of NSARS is defund the police, that's or may result in defunding the police. Actually, all I'm saying is you can actually keep them funded if you have the right guys in. There's no reason why I should be shot for having an iPhone. There was a video where the SARS officer said, how much is iPhone? The guy said 250k. He said, it's 7 years of me doing SARS. I've never made 250k. Sir! No, even there's an issue with the education system, bro. But you know what? It's, and I know it's not as easy as leave. Like, everyone has proximity to employment that other.
But he might
not have access to higher paid jobs. I'll put it as that. But my point is, That's not my personal problem.
Yeah, and you should also be annoyed about that.
You should be forcing the government to increase
exactly.
it. And this is why when people have said there's 5 points that people are banging on about in terms of what they want as a result of SARS, and one of the main things is to increase the pay of police officers so that they don't have to default to being corrupt. Because actually, if they were being the notion is if they were being paid adequately, they wouldn't continue their madness. Me that I know Nigerians, I think they'll still be greedy, but if it means that they get better pay and that there's less rogue officers on road, do it. Pay them more.
And
somebody tax people start there.
If I was to give my suggestion, sorry, because I don't want, like, the point I was making in terms of the idea that end SARS is it feels more political than Black Lives Matter doesn't mean I'm justifying the fact that you shouldn't be for both. I'm just saying.
But I'm saying if I'm for Black Lives Matter, I'm for ending SARS.
Yeah. Because So I'm saying that I don't see a distinguishing.
You just said you don't have to be specific. I think you do.
When I say why?
I think within Black Lives Matter there are so many things that lead to. So we've spoken about Black Lives Matter and the NHS in the police system,
but they all Black Lives ending SARS.
So ending SARS is one portion under the umbrella.
The umbrella, but it's still Black Lives. I think my point is that they were trying to call out Westerners, saying that we were so all vim for Black Lives Matter.
Agree. If you can shout Black Lives Matter, you should be able to shout end SARS. I don't have to be black
I can shout it end SARS, but what me shouting Black Lives Matter? It's a black life that matters.
But then you're dying with SARS.
You're dying with Black Lives Matter.
So my point is, I don't want you to tweet Black Lives Matter instead of end SARS right now, because the
I know, that's
campaign
fine.
we're pushing is to educate.
But every day we can have a new campaign. Because even in that, but then there's no obligation. I don't have to tweet it. That's the point I'm trying to make. I do not have to tweet. No, I don't. No, I don't.
and I think.
But why do you think I do?
Go ahead.
It's the point that we made earlier, right? That we were saying that there is like.
No, but why do you think I need to tweet it?
So I think there's multiple situations that contribute to the idea that we need Black Lives to matter.
But why do I need to tweet it?
So then, in any why? So why do you need to tweet Black Lives Matter if you don't need to?
I don't have to tweet Black Lives Matter.
Okay, cool. So I think what you need to do is that you need to support the movements that are heading towards change.
But that's no, you can't land, because I'm telling you, why do I need to tweet it?
That's
because I'm supporting the move. What's a tweet? I don't have to tweet
awareness.
it.
I literally just said
that is awareness, but I can a tweet. Yeah, you're talking about tweeting. But if I do, so you're saying that if I do awareness elsewhere and I don't tweet it, that I'm not raising awareness.
So currently in this situation, I guess just to go back to the conversation.
No, that's specifically what I said is what I'm talking about.
No, yeah. So I'm saying with regards to Burna Boy, do you believe that so you don't use your platform to raise awareness? I'm asking you a question about.
So the thing about me is, Burna Boy doesn't have to come and tell me everything that he's doing. You guys want that from these celebrities. You want them to tell you absolutely everything that they're doing on platforms, and then you feel better. They can chat shit online and not actually be doing anything. So far as they've raised the awareness by hashtagging #EndSARS, it seems like people are going to be happy. But they can sit at home on their keyboards and not do anything.
And I will agree and take it a step further and say, actually, peer pressure or public pressure was due to visibility and the fact that loads of people were tweeting it. Well, the visibility alone, because actually, Burna Boy, Davido, Wizkid, and all the people that we mentioned are not equipped to walk into those conversations to tell them. Hold on a second, if I'm going to land, yeah, that's fine. We'll get there. But then none of them are equipped to walk into those conversations to tell them how to reform the police. I don't want that from them. Yeah. What I want from them is for them to use their influence and to use their platform to spread awareness. The awareness alone increases the pressure, which has forced Buhari to respond.
And get us to the stage where we're saying that the whole reason we started this is that we were talking about Nigeria response to international embarrassment. If it wasn't for all of these tweets, they would not have responded.
Okay, and so to answer your specific question,
you guys are getting the
your question is, do I have to tweet? And I started by saying, when I spoke about Dizzy Rascal, unfortunately for us, whether we like it or not, we have a sphere of influence. And if you're doing stuff in the back, cool. Yeah. But equally, we need to know where you stand. But do you notice how that only works
when you want it to work for you? Because we spoke about this before in the workplace, where when there's other black people in the workplace, you don't feel united and you don't feel the need to be united because you're in the workplace, so it's every man for himself. You made a comment on that when you were saying that how it's different when you're in the workplace, that people aren't actually bonded, because why should we carry the burden of other black people? Why do we have to be as one?
No, so I think I mentioned that at work I don't always feel like my guard is completely down, because I know that we're still in a workspace, and that given the hierarchy of there being a token black person that gets this and gets that, I never know who's really in it for me or in it to push me down so that they can advance. I think that's very separate though. I don't care what Burna Boy has for lunch or dinner or how he bangs gym. What I do care about is if you're using the flag, if you're using the flag African giant, then when Namibia is saying that we should hashtag shut it all down against sexual violence, when Nigeria is saying end SARS because of police brutality, you have the platform. Yeah. You have to use it. Yeah. You don't have to be an activist.
Okay. So
yes, but tweeting increases visibility, and you are reducing it and making it so simplistic. And
because I put the example on me though, and
I said you have to tweet.
But I don't have to.
But how many followers do you have on Twitter?
10. I have 10 followers.
Those 10 people are now more informed.
But then also the
work I'm doing outside of Twitter, I can inform more than 10 people.
And I'm not saying it has to be either or.
This is the easiest way.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Let me land. But I don't have to tweet it.
This is what I'm saying. If you can contribute to conversations that mean nothing, but you can contribute to conversations that mean something offline, why would you not do it online? I just don't understand why you wouldn't pick. People are contributing to conversations that literally are not about people dying on Twitter. Do you know what I mean? They're just sharing your random thoughts.
But that's what Twitter is for.
So why would you not do it when there's actually a conversation to be had?
Because you've used Twitter for that first reason, and then you go to where your other means are. Like, for example, I don't tweet about work.
But then where is the situation in which, in what situation is it more likely to go further? Because whilst you are reducing it to a hashtag and making it seem as though that hashtag is not the reason for the international embarrassment, which it is, your hashtag, whether or not it got 10 retweets, whether or not it got 100, your hashtag was one of the ones that were flooding. That is the reason why everyone used to do it.
The only reason why CNN covered it, Al Jazeera covered it, we're still waiting on Sky News, is because they saw it was trending.
Yeah.
These platforms are pressured into covering stories that trend. I saw somebody say, keep retweeting NSARS now because CNN have said they will continue to cover it while it's trending. Yeah. It amounts to something. Somebody said
one tweet is part of the story. It's that simple. If everyone behaved like you, Burna Boy, Wizkid, and for all you know, may not have turned up. If everyone behaved like you, for all you know, Naira Marley
like
may not have...
In what sense? In what? Because I don't tweet. Behave like me in what sense?
In terms of didn't tweet the hashtag.
But did everything outside of tweeting it? Did everything outside but just didn't tweet?
What is the movement of a social campaign?
No, the point is that if everyone behaved like me but did all the stuff that they needed to do but didn't tweet it.
What is all the stuff?
What is the bad thing?
What's all the stuff?
But I'm not saying it's not about what is all the stuff. I'm telling you that you can do. No, you can do everything but not tweet it.
What is everything?
Wizkid didn't tweet?
Huh?
He did. He was the first one to.
Well, he didn't go. Okay, he didn't Instagram it at all.
How do you get a protest? How do you get everyone to a protest if it isn't on social media? It's the
protest, but that's a silly argument because protests were around before social media.
But then right now, how do you get everyone to meet at Nigeria school?
Protests were around before social media and they were able to spread word through higher visibility. All we're doing now is evolving the conversation because we have the platforms in our hands as opposed to having to call people or going door to door.
But
people back in the day used to flyer.
Okay, so tell us what
is calling them to do what?
Okay, so what is everything?
I disagree.
What is everything?
We're not gonna agree, guys.
What do you mean? What's everything?
Yeah, it's true. But I just want to know your tangible examples of what everything you could be doing is if it's not tweeting.
Everything that Burna Boy, for example, did, and he didn't tweet.
You. Because you don't have the means to go and pay for all of them. So what?
I don't have the means to do it, but
so
me
what are
tweeting
you doing?
it.
Just answer. What are you doing
to end SARS?
Yeah.
I can't do anything to end SARS.
And this is what I'm saying. If everybody had that defeatist attitude, people are doing what they can with what they have.
But
if you can't fund,
it's not a defeatist
hold on a second,
attitude.
babe. If you can't fund bailing and you can't fund lawyers and you can't remember when actually you had this argument when you said, oh, I don't like the fact that people are just doing loads of black squares, what did it actually do in the end? To me, it raised awareness. Remember
I didn't say I didn't like the black squares.
Oh, there's an episode. Should we put the clip in?
As mentioned before, it was an initiative basically to kind of get us to step outside of our usual social activities, whereby we post a black image, a black square, without the hashtag Black Lives Matter, just back out Tuesday, and just to kind of step away from your normal activities on social media and just to highlight everything that's been happening in the world, especially in America. So it was done, and one thing for me was it was just so comforting to see literally the amount of black squares on my timeline, from people, from allies, from whether it be performative or not. However, I think it got to a point during the day when you did, because people were also hashtagging Black Lives Matter, when you went into the search of Black Lives Matter, you were almost just presented with black squares. Now, I get the initiative made sense, but actually in the search of Black Lives Matter, my heart almost sank because I was like, Black Lives Matter, and I'm seeing essentially nothing, if that makes sense.
There's no way I could have said that because I put the black square.
No, but you said it wasn't enough. You were like, also,
in.
it was just performative. It didn't mean anything.
It's performative. It doesn't mean anything.
But
it
hashtag
does. The whole
but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
And people were then having the conversation.
You just threw to my point. If I'm saying it's performative and it doesn't mean anything, but you want me to do it just so that people can see our
I'm saying that it's not performative. Yeah. I'm saying that
but
everyone has and I started by saying
this. Anything.
I started by saying this. Everyone has their role in a campaign. Some people are the educators. They will tell you about SARS, why it was formed, how long they've been there, the atrocities that they have been doing. Other people have the awareness. They spread it like wildfire.
But you know, the problem is what you're saying is
give it a leg to stand.
But the problem is what you're saying is you're saying because I didn't tweet it. What does that mean?
This is.
SARS shouldn't end.
I asked you.
No, but what does it mean? SARS shouldn't end. That I enjoy it. That police brutality is fantastic. Because I didn't tweet it.
No. We asked. You said if I don't tweet it, but I'm doing everything else in the background, does that mean I'm not part of it? And we asked. So what is there everything else?
And then when we asked you.
And then you said I can't do anything.
I can't physically do it. But I feel like you guys have put yourself on a pedestal because you've tweeted it. You felt that you've contributed to ending SARS.
No, okay.
Then well done.
Let me.
But me, SARS continued because I didn't tweet it.
And you know what? If you're gonna stuck your feet in the mud or whatever the saying is, then I will agree. If you don't feel like you pushed the campaign forward, if you don't feel like you contributed, then shame on you.
There's no shame on me.
Has a platform, everyone has a sphere of influence, and everyone has a responsibility. Because I know you're coming with facts and figures. I'm gonna land.
You have to tweet.
Yes,
make sure you
do
tweet.
have
Don't
to
do
tweet.
anything, but just tweet so that everyone can see that you tweet and it was performative.
And you know what? Again, I'm not gonna
guys.
come into this conversation being dragged into the simplisticness of it. But when we spoke about you really are just cutting me off. So when we speak about the Nazis, remember there was a quote that said, "I didn't speak on behalf of these people because they didn't come for me and it didn't concern me. I didn't speak on behalf of these people because it didn't concern me and it didn't affect me. I didn't speak on behalf." But then the last saying is, when all of them were gone, there was no one to speak on behalf of me. I don't have to be affected by it. I might think that my contribution to the conversation is minimal.
What you're talking about. I tweet.
Okay, you're still shutting me down.
Because
I'm gonna land. I'm gonna land.
No, you're talking about you're saying that I'm not gonna talk about. I just said tweets.
Cindy,
we're not talking about anything.
If I get to the conclusion, you'll understand where I'm going. You don't get to cut me off.
You're alluding to.
I'm not alluding to anything. I'm saying that point blank period. You should tweet. Everybody has a responsibility to tweet because everyone has their role in a campaign. And if their only role is to raise awareness, then there are things called awareness campaigns. There's a whole stream of marketing called that. People get paid to do it.
I think if I had to put one line on it, I feel like this is being made into as simple as performative versus action. And what I feel like you're not seeing is the idea that when people are performing and or you are forcing people to perform, that's when CNN pick up the news. So irrespective of whether or not your tweet or the black square meant nothing and you didn't care about it, or whether you tweeted end SARS and it was just one tweet and no one retweeted it, you got to the stage where actually everyone then, like someone else was able to see it. You added a tweet to the conversation that made it trend. And so it's not necessarily about the idea that your tweet, your lack of knowledge or whatever, I'm not saying you, but it felt abstract in the world of everything that needs to happen, in the fact that you could have done billboards and so on. It is more about the idea that the more people that speak, eventually people listen. You don't get to U-turn decisions without people speaking. And right now, the way we can do that in a pandemic is Twitter, it is social media. It's that simple.
And with that said, guys, we have really spoken about this for 40 minutes. So should we summarize our positions? I feel like it got super heated. It was never supposed to get personal. Do you want to round up?
No.
Okay. I personally feel like you're ignorant if you feel like your voice doesn't matter and everyone should do what they can with their hands. Ola?
I agree. I feel like we're all in a position. This year, we have learned about the fact that when we speak, governments listen. And if they're the ones that we need to oppose, power to the people, talk every single time.
Do you want to summarize your point?
Make sure you guys tweet.
And guys, if you aren't following us on Twitter, at Frobeats Podcast on Twitter and on Instagram, that has been the Twitter timeline. We have really got into the heat of it. #EndSARS. Let us know your thoughts down below. Is it as simple as just tweeting? Do you feel like you're part of a wider campaign? Do you feel like the international pressure has really brought about change? Or do you feel like your actions are so insignificant it doesn't really make a difference whether you act or you don't? That is it for this week. That is the end of episode 12.
12.
You can find me at _Gracey Mae.
At Ola Aweo.
At Cindy Temi.
And again, listen to the full podcast on all streaming platforms. We'll be back next week. Peace.